Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Amsterdam Talk on a special night on a Tuesday night. You normally know we do one Wednesday night, but I had to get Miss Giovanni on the show, so I had to switch up and put it on a Tuesday. So this is season 4, episode 20. Thank you for coming in, Miss Catherine Giovanni.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. But before we get started, we always like to know who you are before we get into our conversation.
I am I am an author. I've written 12 books, several won awards for what that's worth. But I'm also an author, a speaker. I've written 12 of them, and my latest book is about forgiveness. And it's a
Mm,
brand new take on forgiveness that your listeners probably have never heard before.
so, I mean, that's what we brought you on here for. For forgiveness. We came across you with with one podcast guest, and forgiveness, and that's one of the biggest things that's going on in the world today. People do not know how to forgive. People just ruin relationships just because something small, when they could have just had a conversation and just talked it out for a second. So um
But that's the problem, isn't it? We're all taught we have to forgive. Your pastor, your parents, your teachers, you got to forgive.
right.
Okay, how? Nobody teaches you how.
Yeah, no,
And then what if I don't want to?
correct.
Then what do you do? So everybody watching this podcast or listening to this podcast right now is all thinking on a 10 scale, with 10 being a dumpster fire, unforgivable, and 1 being real easy. You're all thinking about your number 10 people. And you may or may not, and you clearly, and it's really fair, you don't want to forgive those people. They're hard. So in my world, you don't have to forgive them.
Right.
Stay with me.
I'm listening.
And the reason you don't have to forgive them is because there's so many other people behind them that you can forgive first.
Hmm.
Start with the easy ones. The people on that 10 scale, start with the number ones.
Correct.
The kid in high school who stained your sweater. The person in the grocery store yesterday that cut you off on aisle 5. You can forgive these people. The person who stole your sandwich at lunch yesterday at the office. And they're doing it on a regular basis.
I
You
have a
can
story.
forgive them.
I have a story about that. I have a story
You can
about that.
forgive that person. It's much easier than doing the dumpster fire, which could be your parents, could be an unforgivable act. And to be clear, forgiveness means I want you out of my head. That's
Correct.
what it means. I want to stop thinking about you. I want to stop dreaming about you. I want you out of my head. And because you're in my head, it's all I can think about. It's all I can talk about. And maybe my friend circle is small now because who wants to be around me? Because it's all I can think about and it's all I can talk about. So forgiveness means you're going to free yourself from that. It's selfish. Forgiveness is selfish. It doesn't mean they're correct,
Hmm.
because they're not.
Correct.
It doesn't mean I want a relationship with you. I probably don't. Just because I forgive you doesn't mean I want a relationship with you. It means I need to be free of you.
Correct. That is correct, because what you said, thinking about you, there's a saying that you're letting people live in your head rent free.
Yep,
And it's
exactly.
probably not even that serious. Why are you letting them, steal your. My cousin says this all the time. My cousin, she's like my sister. We grew up together, and she says, I'm protecting my peace. I'll forgive you, but you can't be in my space, interrupting my peace anymore.
Exactly. Because that's what they're doing. And you know what the real crime about it is? You're spending all this time thinking about it, and they're not giving you a second thought. Doesn't that so irritating? You want them to be as miserable as you, but they're going about their life. They're going out to dinner. They're going to work. They're not giving you a second thought. But
Correct.
you are all over it, and you're literally making yourself miserable. And what's happening while you're doing that? You're missing opportunities. You're so focused on the anger. That perfect job, that dream job, you missed it because you didn't see it. You were focused on the anger. Your dream relationship, you missed it because you didn't see it. So by forgiving people, you might lose that weight. You might get that job. You might get more money. There's a reason to buy the book.
Mm.
So it's a process.
Yes, yes, it is a process. So why do you think people, don't go through that process? They just rather just hold it inside and just walk around, living rent free in their head and doing certain things instead of letting that peace, letting that situation go to get it out their temple, they're in a sanctuary. Why do you not?
Because they're thinking of the dumpster fire.
Okay.
They're thinking of their number 10s, their 8s, 9s, and 10s. In my process that I have in the book, and I do have the audio available for anybody who doesn't like to read. You can get that on Amsterdam as well as the paperback. But in my world, I'm going to have you write a list of all the people, places, and things. I did say places and things, stay with
Hmm.
me, that you need to forgive. And then I want you to rate these things from 1 to 10.
Hmm.
And then I want you to start with the number ones.
Okay.
And then I want you to move to the number twos. And eventually it's a marathon, not a sprint. And it's kind of hard work. But the reason you start with the easy ones is because you're going to start to feel better. Coffee will taste better. The world's going to look a little better because you're saying, I can forgive this person. You're going to feel good. So by the time you get to that dumpster fire, you'll be prepared for it. Now, if you can, let's take a really horrible example. Let's say you were raped, right?
Hmm.
You may not want to forgive the rapist. Very few people can. There may be 0.0001% of the planet who are these magical beings like unicorns who can do it. Most of us can't.
Hmm.
So what I want you to do is I want you to forgive other things within that memory. I want you to pick out the other things. So you don't want to forgive, let's say, your parents, but you
Hmm.
can forgive your childhood home. You can forgive the table, the bed, the chair. You can forgive the desk.
Hmm.
Einstein proved, I have science to back all of this up.
Okay.
Einstein proved that energy is neither created nor destroyed. It just transforms into
Transferred.
something else. So when you get mad, everybody on the planet, 10 out of 10 of us all think when you get mad, that energy just goes into the universe and magically dissipates. Sadly, it does not. It hangs around you
Hmm.
until you change it. So everybody says anger is toxic. That's why the anger is literally hanging around you.
Okay. Correct. So you know, so tell us about before we get into the book, your forgiveness journey. Before we get into your book, The Ultimate Path to Forgiveness: Unlocking Your Power. So tell us about your forgiveness journey and why did you write this book?
I come from a dysfunctional family, to say the least.
Oh
Both
shit,
that
we all do.
they were pickled beyond belief, alcoholics. It's a very pickled family.
Okay.
I was horribly bullied in school, and in the 8th grade in 1974, hello, I am that old.
Okay.
My parents got a nasty divorce, and I was getting bullied, and I tried to commit suicide.
Mm,
And I went through the next 10, 15 years as that kid, that teenager. You know who I'm talking about.
mm-hmm.
And my world was really small, and I was depressed, and I was always wearing black. I know I'm wearing black today, but it's a habit. you
I
know,
understand.
and I kind of floated through life. And then something magical happened. My mother fell down the stairs, broke her hip, and ended up in the hospital. And
Mm,
even my mother can't get a gin and tonic in Lenox Hill Hospital. Very
mm,
hard to get, a drink there. So she dried out.
mm.
And then we became best. We sent her to rehab, and we became best friends. We became close. We forgave each other. We were really tight. And then 3 years later, she died of breast cancer.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear
So
that.
I went back down into that black hole. But I knew that if I didn't change my life, I was going to die like she did.
Mm,
So I quit drinking, and I'm now 34 years sober.
okay.
Um, I quit drinking. I got my life together. I started to forgive people, and I didn't have this process. I didn't really figure this process out until 2020, but I started to just do what I had been taught. Just say, I forgive you. There was no process to it. That's what we all did. So you just think, okay, I forgive you, and you move on. So
Mm-hmm.
that's the process. And sometimes I just had to look at people and say, I forgive you. I forgive them. I forgive them. I forgive them. I forgive them. And then you'd see them again, and the anger come right back up. So it's a process. And then when I figured out this method, I figured out the secret sauce to the whole thing.
What's
Here's the
that?
secret sauce. Here's the special thing that nobody knows. You didn't forgive the energy.
Oh.
Everything on the planet has energy. There's energy around you. And as Einstein says, it's going to hang until you change it. You forgive the energy, which will transmute that nasty dark energy into light. So the reason people don't stay forgiven is you probably didn't forgive the energy.
See what
So you forgive the person, the energy around the person, you forgive yourself, the energy around yourself, and then you forgive the energy around the whole thing.
okay. So you forgive the and you got to forgive the energy, but what if you just can't seem to forgive the energy? You forget a
You,
person, but you can't forgive the energy.
well, then you forgive other things within that memory.
Okay.
You forgive the people that stood around and didn't do anything. You forgive if it was a childhood bully and you were in school, maybe you forgive the kids that ignored you. Maybe you forgive the teacher who didn't say anything. Maybe you forgive the building because every time you see that building, you have bad thoughts about it. So you forgive the building and the energy around the building. And that should be just enough to get you through. So the next time you do the process, and I always have people do it before bed because our bodies heal themselves at night, right?
Hmm.
You will go again. So once you forgive somebody in my process, I'm going to have you check into your body. How do you feel? Do you have an emotion? Are you still feeling angry? Are they still a 10 or did you get the needle down to a 9? If you got it
Mm,
down to the 9, fabulous. Wait 24, 48 a week and then do it again, and eventually you can get those numbers down. But I do don't start with the high ones. Start with the ones, the twos, the easy, easy, easy people, and you'll get used to it and you'll start to feel better.
understandable. So, what makes your forgiveness method different from everyone else?
It's the energy. There's a now I'm not pronouncing his name very well. It's a Japanese researcher who studied water, and if everybody just Google's that, you'll be able to see the pictures online. They come right up. Its name is Masumoto, I believe,
Hmm.
and I'm going to dumb this down really fast. He studied the molecules of water. One container of water, he said beautiful things. He talked to it. He said it was beautiful. He spoke loving words to it. In the other container of water, he spewed negative, horrible words to it and treated it really badly. Then he put it under a microscope.
Mm,
The water that he put under a microscope that he said negative things to had these black and brown formations. The pictures are interesting. And the water that he said nice things had these beautiful, crystalline, gorgeous formations. Here's the kicker: the human body is 98% water.
correct.
So when you're saying angry things and you're negative and you're being toxic, what do you think the water molecules within your body is doing? It's turning into those black and brown formations that he studied. That's why anger is toxic. What do you think those formations are doing to the everything in your body? It's literally making you sick. So by forgiving, you're literally healing your body from the inside out.
Mm. Sounds like Ghostbusters 2 with the slime under the street when
There you go.
when Egon started talking positive to it, it did nothing. When it started talking negative, it started growing and growing and growing, and it channeled Vigo the great energy.
Well, I'm going to use that example from now on. I love that.
Yes, yes, Vigo the Carpathian, the guy
Hey,
in the picture.
Ghostbusters, man. I love that.
Yes. So, how do you forgive the unforgivable? Is it even possible?
It's possible. I mean, it took me a long time to forgive my parents, to be honest. It really did. And I am not a religious person by any stretch, but there is one passage in the Bible that got me to forgive my parents.
And what passage is that?
Jesus is strung up on the cross and he says, "Forgive them, Father, they know not what they do." And I looked at, if you look at a 5-year-old child, you
Hmm.
can't, and they don't know trigonometry. You can't get mad at that 5-year-old because they don't know trigonometry. They haven't learned it yet.
Right.
So my parents did the best they could with the tools they had. Was it good
Hmm.
enough? No, it wasn't. But they did the best they could with the tools they had at their disposal. And through some other mental gymnastics, I was able to forgive my parents.
So, did you have any siblings?
I do have a sibling. I have 3 of them.
So, did they feel this same energy that you were feeling as well growing up?
I suppose they did. We've all had, we all have our kind of our own path.
Okay.
It was kind of it was, to quote a song lyric, it was a long strange trip.
Oh, oh,
And
okay.
everybody deals with their anger and their past in their own way. I just took this path.
Okay. So, everything, so you believe everything is forgivable.
I think everything has the potential of being forgiven. When you're dealing with an unforgivable dumpster fire, that's hard. When you're trying to forgive yourself, that's even harder. You might be your own dumpster fire, and that's hard. So what do? You pick out the other pieces in the memory. You pick out the little things that you can forgive. Maybe all you can forgive is the energy in the memory. Okay, we'll go with that. Maybe all you could forgive is you put on, you were standing outside a door, forgive the door. It comes down to the little baby steps, tiny little baby steps that we can do that will lead us to forgiveness. You forgive what you can and you move on. Every motivational speaker talks about that big brick wall, right? And you
Hmm.
have to break through that wall. Let's get out our tools and our jackhammers. Okay, stop. Pull out a few bricks out of the wall, get rid of those, walk around the dumb wall, keep going, circle back when you can. Forgive
So
what
you
you can and move on.
forget what you can and move on. You go around, but what if you just want to crash through and go through that wall?
It's going to hurt.
I mean, yeah, it's going to hurt,
anger
but
anger hurts, and if you I mean, it's one of those things. If you really want to forgive your number 10, it's absolutely possible, and it is like an onions have a lot of different layers. So you might forgive the first few memories, and you can do that. But once you forgive those first few memories, your brain, which is a very powerful
hmm,
organ, is protecting you,
correct.
and it's going to supply you with a fresh batch of memories that you probably didn't even know were there. So now you got a fresh batch of memories that you're probably going to want to forgive. And eventually you'll get that dumpster fire down to a manageable level. But by starting with the easy ones and working your way up, you're going to be very prepared once you get to that. And I mean, it's going to be easier to forgive a 5 than a 10. So by going the other way and working your way up, it's actually going to help you a lot.
Okay, I
Trust
understand
me, I
that.
did it.
I understand that. So, do you have to forgive that person, face to face? Do you have to be in their presence, or do you just tell them? Could you do it virtually or over the phone?
I have great respect for every recovery program out there. Went through one myself.
Okay.
In my world, you do not have to make amends. You do not have to reach out and talk to this person. The person might even be dead. You can forgive dead people. It doesn't matter where these people are or are not, because you're forgiving for you. You
Hmm.
don't have to talk to them. You can do it in the privacy of your own home, and you don't have to tell a living soul that you're doing it. You just do it for you. And I would sit in the middle of my bed, and I would imagine the person was standing in front of my bed, and I would
Mm,
verbally let them have it and say whatever it is I wanted to say. And then I'd watch them leave the room, and I'd sit and say my very simple forgiveness mantra. And then afterwards, I'll check in with my body to see if I'm still angry or maybe it's gone. And then I'll move on to the next name on the list. And I don't have to tell anybody I've done it. Doesn't mean they were correct. It doesn't mean that I want a relationship. It just, I'm doing this for me because I can't carry this burden anymore and I want to be free.
okay. So yeah. So correct. So it doesn't mean that that person's actually right. It's just being just trying to protect your peace, man or woman. Protect your peace. Be the bigger man or be the bigger woman. Whatever terminology you want to use.
But it also doesn't matter. Maybe it's a family member that you've had a falling out with, and other family members have a really good memory about this person. And they're all looking at you like you've just grown another head on your body and saying, what do you mean? This person is great. How could you have these memories? With all due respect to your family, I don't care.
Mm, right.
I don't care if other people had good memories about this person. You're the only one I care about, and you didn't. So this is your party, and this is your forgiveness thing. And you don't have to tell these people. Now, I guarantee, I hate saying the word guarantee, but I guarantee you, when you start forgiving people, something's going to happen, and you're going to start to change. And somebody's going to come up to you and say, did you get a new haircut? Something about you is different. Is that a new outfit? Did you lose some weight? Now it's up to
Mm,
you. You could either tell them or not. You don't have to tell anybody, but you're going to start to change and people will start to notice and you're going to start to feel better.
understandable. So, like, how do you forgive? We talked about not being right, and you said you sitting on the edge of the bed,
Mhm.
giving your mantras. There's something that you specifically say, like something that you recant, rechant. or is it just this each situation is different?
Each situation, each person is different. I can imagine people in my head. If you can't really imagine the person in your head, there's another method. You can take two chairs, put them back to back. Pretend the person and that you're sitting in one, and behind you, you're imagining is the person you want to forgive. Now
Hmm.
it's up to you to say whatever you want to say. Doesn't I don't care. You can yell, you can scream. I don't care what you do.
Okay.
Say whatever it is. Get it off your chest. And then, if you can't bring yourself to forgive the person, I want you to stand up and walk out of the room.
Mm.
Turn the other cheek, walk out, and then wait a week, circle back, and then see, because you're forgiving other people on your list that are probably a heck of a lot easier. Circle back in a week and see if you can take it a step further. Maybe you could forgive something part of the memory. But that works awful for a lot of my clients. That works for a
Well,
lot of people.
how do you circle back within a week? Because once that blood starts boiling, that water starts boiling, it's like, hey, I can't let this go. I have to deal with it now, this instant. Anger and emotion take the best of you right there. So you can't find your woosah moment to calm down. You're just going to keep going.
Forgive yourself for being angry that you can't forgive. Forgive the energy around your anger because you can't forgive. Maybe that's all you can do. Maybe that's the only piece you could do is you could forgive the fact that you're still angry. You can
Mm,
forgive the fact that I'm still angry and I can't forgive, and I'm going to forgive the energy around that. That alone will move the dial a little bit. So when you go back to it tomorrow, a week, or a month from now, you're going to be in a different mind space, and you might be able to get a little bit further. And for everybody listening, what we're really talking about are the people that we're labeling an 8, a 9, or a 10. The
okay.
easy ones from 1 to 7, you probably can do. You can get a 7 after a couple passes. You can get a 7 down to a 5, and then probably within imaginable range. It's the 8s, 9s, and 10s that are going to trip you up. And those you just take baby steps. And if all you can do is forgive yourself and the energy, and I forgive myself for being angry, I forgive myself because I can't let this go. Maybe that's all you can do.
So
And that's fine.
you just said passes. How many passes do you give?
As many as you need.
Some
Some
people say one pass. That might just be it. One pass.
Some people might take 50 passes because maybe you live with this person, maybe they're family. And you have to see and talk to these family members occasionally. And every time you do, you get mad again. So it may take a couple passes. I have been to family functions and I've left, and I've had to sit in my car and just say to myself, I forgive, I forgive, I forgive, I forgive, like a blithering idiot. I forgive,
Mm.
I forgive. And then I'll go home and I'll do my little mantra and I'll forgive the energy. But in the moment, sometimes that's all I can manage.
So what's your mantra?
I forgive you. I forgive, and I name the person, but I forgive George. I forgive the energy around George. I forgive myself for anything I may or may not have done. I forgive the energy around myself. I forgive the energy around the entire memory.
Okay.
I told you I'm a simple soul.
I, I
That,
understand.
and you put your hand on your heart, because at the end of the day, it's not the words are just for the humans. We're
Hmm.
human. It's the energy behind the words, it's the emotion behind the words that's actually going to make the difference. And at the end, you're going to feel different. My older son says his shoulders feel different, they feel lighter. Some people say they get really sleepy. Remember, you're changing those cells in your body. Remember the water experiment.
Hmm.
So do it before bed, because your body heals itself when it sleeps. So do yourself a favor, do it before bed. Don't do more than 10 to 12 at a time. I am a serious overachiever. And when I came up with this method, I came up with this beefy list, and it
Mm.
must have been 60 people. And I thought it's going to be like a band-aid. I'm going to do it all at once, and I'll be happy, and I'll be Susie Sunshine, and everything will be great. So I blasted through the
Hey,
list,
you
whether
had
I wanted to or not. Just
six,
blasted through all of them. Took
60
me,
people. What was you
yep.
doing?
I just wrote down all sorts of people. It was crazy. And I spent the next 3 days in bed with what everybody thought was a stomach flu, to be very delicate. And
Mm.
it's because I had forgiven so many people that the energy needed to take the time to leave my body. So don't make yourself sick. And it's happened to more than one friend and client of mine. So try and just limit yourself to 10 to 12 people at a time.
Okay, so what you just said, don't get sick. So how do you know that it actually worked? I mean, if I don't get sick, how do you know does it work?
You're going to feel it. You're going to feel it. Even after the first two, your shoulders are going to feel lightly, because after you forgive somebody, I want you to check into your body and I want you to see if you feel different. Your shoulders feel lighter. I feel kind of I feel kind of energy in my solar plexus. It's kind of like I feel kind of movement there. That's how I know I've done it. Everybody's method is different. You know you've completely forgiven somebody when you can look at their name, you can go on Facebook, and there's no emotional charge. You don't care either way. Now, come on. You know, we all do this. You go on Facebook, you see your childhood bully, you see your bully broke their leg, and you're like, well, karma, and you're kind of happy about it. Come on, don't lie. We don't do that.
No, because
Everybody.
no, because I know what you're talking about because there's a meme that was going around probably about this is 24, so this had to be about 19 or 20. It was these two guys. He said I just showed up to my my hater's funeral to make sure he died.
There you go. That's what I'm talking about.
So
So
he
when
just
you
showed
can
up.
go to Facebook and go to your hater's funeral, and there's no emotional charge there. You don't hate them. You don't love them. You just freaking don't care. That's when you know you've forgiven. It's neutral. I can look back on my childhood now. I can tell stories about it, and it doesn't affect me. I can make funny stories about it. There's no emotional charge. I literally, excuse my language, I don't give a damn. And
Mm,
I can talk to family members now. Most of my family's passed, but I can talk to the ones still alive, and there's nothing there. I can remember the love that was there. So when I see family now, it's
mm,
there's actually love there where there wasn't before. Well, there
okay.
was always love there. It was just
Okay, we got a couple more minutes. So, where can we buy the book Forgiveness, my new book, The Ultimate Path to Forgiveness, Unlocking Your Power? Where can we buy that at?
you can go to my website, and my name, thanks to my mother, my name is spelled a little odd. Thanks, Mom.
There we go.
Catherine, Katharine, Giovanni.com. You can go to Amazon. I have the ebook, the audiobook, and the paperback available because I understand some people don't like to read. So my younger son and I produced the audiobook.
Okay, I understand. Okay. So, could you share how using your intuitive skills has made a big difference in your life or work and how others can develop their intuition in a professional environment?
Intuition is that little bird on your shoulder. That little bird on your shoulder that says, don't go and drive down that street, and you do, and something blows up.
Mm-hmm.
Intuition is that little bird that can see farther than you can. It's that small still voice in your head, and when I listen to it, things usually work out better. It saved my life 3 times, not that I'm counting. So intuition, when you trust your gut, you trust that gut. Don't pretend you didn't hear it. Trust it. And I think you're going to find when you're working with forgiveness, especially your gut, when I'm telling you to write down, your list of people, trust that little bird in your shoulder. And if you write down something crazy like a little red wagon, my
Mm-hmm.
friend Katie wrote her list and she wrote down little red wagon.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, you wrote down a what? She said, I wrote down a little red. And I said, why? She said, I have no idea. Well, obviously, something must have happened in her childhood and she had to forgive the dumb thing. So she forgave a little red wagon, had no idea why she had to do it, felt better afterwards. Trust your intuition. Trust when it tells you to trust you. And
Mm.
remember, it's baby steps. Forgive, take, you can do this, but be kind to yourself. This is not easy, and it's going to take a minute.
Understand that. I definitely understand. So this is the part of the program right here, and now this is actually can be to put to what you just said about forgiveness, because this is the part of the program where we call I Be Damn, where actual people send in stories of crazy dates that happen. Nobody ever gets hurt. Sometimes they ask for forgiveness. Sometimes it just goes far left. So uh, we have this week. I was played by a short, squat, traveling preacher with childbearing hips, and I'm so angry at myself. Preacher Man was the guest was the guest pastor at our church. Now I knew he wouldn't be in town for long. Preacher man said he could bring me closer to God if I allowed myself to be vulnerable with him, and I did. I told him about my upbringing, my selfish teen mom, and my need to be accepted by any father figure I could find. I got vulnerable with him at every other motel, even at the Piggly Wiggly parking lot. You know what happened? Me, I'm pregnant. Preacher man, that's a gift from God. Embrace the miracle of life. I offered to join him on his travel, but he refused. I don't want to expose him because I'm not sure I'm the only woman he touched at the church. How do I make him return to me and take responsibility for our little miracle?
I think the first thing you have to do is forgive yourself.
Okay.
You have to forgive yourself and forgive that you were vulnerable in that way. And then, believe it or not, I think you have to forgive the child. I know they're innocent, but forgive the child and the energy around the child. And then eventually, I think you'll be able to someday forgive the preacher and the energy around the preacher.
Mm,
Now, it doesn't mean that what he did was right. I'm not saying that. But by forgiving him and changing the energy, you might be preventing him from doing it to somebody else because you're going to flip the energy.
mm,
Will he ever take responsibility? I can't answer that. I don't know. But what I can tell you is I can't control what life throws at me, but I sure can control how I get through it. So you can raise that child to be the best that that child can be, to be a stand up adult, and you can raise your family the right way.
mm. Understandable. So thank you for coming, Miss Giovanni. So if anybody's looking for Miss Giovanni, they can where can they find you? I'll let you tell them.
I'm all over social media. I'm LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, website. You can find me at I'm not on Twitter, but I'm on all the other ones.
Okay, everything is Catherine Giovanni.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So thank you guys for tuning in for another episode of Amsterdam Talk. I really don't even know who my guest is next week because I closed the calendar before I was supposed to. But just know we'll be back at our regular time next Wednesday, 7 p.m. 7 p.m. sharp. I don't remember who's the guest, but I do have a special coming up. We'll probably be on a Thursday. If you guys out there that's listening, if you want a free tarot reading, you can come on a Thursday, and we're going to be giving free tarot readings from oh, I forgot the name of the people, but I
That
have them in
sounds
my
fun.
email. I'll put it out there for you guys if you want to get a free tarot reading, and we can go from there. So thank you again, Miss Giovanni, for coming on and spending time with us on Amsterdam Talk, teaching us about forgiveness. Remember, you got to forgive the energy.
That's it.
So I'll see you guys next week, same time, same place, Wednesday, 7 p.m. Thank you again for coming.
Thanks so much.